Ever wonder how your body, like, constantly renews itself? It's kind of like a biological magic trick, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we're diving into today. The fascinating world of cell growth and the proteins that basically orchestrate this whole microscopic ballet.
It's pretty amazing.
And we're using insights from educational standards on cell biology to really understand how it all works.
Right, you got to start with the basics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine a city under constant construction, building, repairing, replacing. That's kind of what's happening inside us all the time.
Yeah. It's a bit like that, constantly in motion.
Okay, so let's start with the construction crew, the cells. How do they, like, multiply and make copies? What's the deal with that?
So that's where mitosis comes in.
Mitosis?
Yeah, mitosis. It's the process of, cell division and duplication, creating two identical cells from a single cell.
Huh.
That's how we grow, repair tissues, and even how some organisms reproduce. Pretty wild, right?
So one cell becomes two identical cells. Seems kind of simple when you put it like that, but I'm guessing there's more to it.
Oh, there's definitely more to it. Think of a cell like a really busy office,
That's
right?
okay. I'm with you.
And the DNA, that's the master blueprint, but it's locked in a vault in the nucleus. Before the cell splits, got to duplicate that blueprint.
So each new office gets a copy of the master plan.
Exactly. And these blueprints, they're organized into chromosomes. They're like the individual chapters of the blueprint. Each one has specific instructions.
Hold on. For those of us who haven't taken biology in a while, remind me, what are chromosomes again?
Sure. So chromosomes are basically DNA molecules, but they're packaged into these thread-like structures. Humans usually have 23 pairs of them, and they carry all the genetic information that, well, makes you, you.
Wow, so every single cell has this, like, incredibly detailed instruction manual tucked away inside.
That's one way to think about it.
Crazy. Okay, so during mitosis, the DNA replicates, the chromosomes duplicate, and then what?
Then the cell goes through this beautifully choreographed process, like a dance. Yeah. It lines up all those duplicated chromosomes and then pulls them apart. This makes sure each new cell gets a complete set.
It's like a perfectly synchronized cell dance routine. I love it. So we've got one cell becoming two identical cells. Got it. But here's where it gets really interesting, at least to me. If all our cells come from the same original cell, how do we end up with all these different types of cells with specific jobs? Like, how does a cell become a heart cell instead of, say, a brain cell?
So that's where we go from the construction crew to the specialists, right?
The specialists.
Yeah. You see, while every cell has that same master blueprint, they don't all read the whole thing. Think of it like a cookbook with every recipe you could imagine.
Okay.
But each cell type just focuses on one specific section.
Wait, so you're telling me every cell in my body has the instructions to be a brain cell, but just chooses not to?
Well, in a way, yeah. This is what we call gene expression. It's the selective reading of DNA.
Gene expression.
Yep. Different genes are turned on or off in different types of cells, and that's what dictates their specific structure and function.
So it's kind of like we've got this team of chefs in the body, right?
Right.
Each one's a specialist. They've got their own type of dish.
Yeah.
But they can all look at that same master cookbook.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And just like, a master chef needs those specialized tools, right? Different cell types, they produce specific proteins, all depends on which genes are active.
Okay.
And those proteins, they're the ones doing the work, carrying out all the cell's specific functions.
Okay, that makes sense. But, like, how does a cell even know which genes to turn on and which ones to just, like, leave alone? Is there like a cellular supervisor in there directing traffic? You make bone. You over there, heart muscle. Go, go, go.
Chuckles. Not exactly. But there are definitely levels of control.
Like what?
So you've got internal cues from within the cell itself.
Okay.
And then there are signals coming from neighboring cells. Oh, and even stuff in the environment can influence gene expression. Like, it's wild.
Wow, that is, like, incredibly complex.
Yeah.
But I guess it also explains how our bodies can, adapt.
Exactly.
Like how they respond to all these different situations we're constantly finding ourselves in.
Yep. The body's pretty incredible. Now, remember those cellular, like, jacks of all trades we talked about earlier?
That's a...
Stem cells.
Oh, right. Stem cells.
They're like, picture this, they're like culinary students.
Okay.
Just starting out. Full of potential. They could become any type of cell in the body.
So you're saying, like, somewhere in my body right now, there are cells that could be, what? Heart cells? Brain cells?
Yeah.
Liver cells?
Precisely.
Yeah.
They're like holding on to this incredible potential for regenerative medicine.
How so?
Well, because theoretically, if we can get the conditions right, we might be able to guide their development.
Guide them.
Yeah, and potentially even repair damaged tissues, maybe
Yeah.
even like grow entirely new organs.
That is mind-blowing. It's like having a built-in repair kit, just waiting to be unlocked.
That's why stem cell research is such a huge deal right now.
Yeah, I can see why.
But of course, like anything, there are ethical considerations, right? It's this whole ongoing debate, scientific and societal.
Yeah, got to think about all that stuff too. But I want to shift gears just a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about what happens when these normally very well choreographed cellular processes go wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Because so far it's all been, picture perfect cell division, specialization, everything working great. But that's not always the reality, is it?
That's an important point, right? While cells are usually very, very highly regulated, things can go wrong. And that's often when we see things like, well, cancer start to emerge.
So when we talk about cancer, what's actually going on at that cellular level? Is it just that the cells are dividing uncontrollably? Is that it?
It's part of it, for sure. See, usually cell division, it's tightly controlled.
Oh,
By a specific set of genes, actually.
genes controlling the cells.
Exactly. They're like the brakes on a car, but sometimes those brakes, they can fail.
And that's when cells just go rogue, start multiplying out of control. Like rules. What rules? I don't see any rules.
It's kind of like that, yeah. So mutations or changes in the DNA sequence can happen in these regulatory genes.
Mutations.
Sometimes we inherit those,
Oh.
but other times we get them throughout our lives, from things like exposure to UV radiation, maybe certain chemicals.
Okay, so these mutations are like dot glitches in the instruction manual, right?
Yeah.
And they totally mess up the cell's ability to, control its own growth.
Precisely. And depending on which genes are affected, those mutations, they can lead to uncontrolled cell division. And ultimately, well, that forms tumors.
So we're talking about cells going rogue, completely ignoring the stop signs, just multiplying like crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary stuff.
It is a serious issue.
It makes those regulatory genes seem really important.
Crucial.
They're like the body's own personal tumor suppressors.
That's a good way to put it.
So when they're working right, they keep everything in check.
Exactly.
Wow. So there are genes whose literal job is to, prevent cancer.
You got it.
That blows my mind.
And when these tumor suppressor genes mutate, it's like losing a vital part of your body's defense system.
So it's not just about the cells dividing too fast. It's that they can't stop dividing, even when they should.
That's right. They lose the ability to self-regulate.
And to make things even more complicated, you said there are also those oncogenes.
Right. Those are key players, too.
And when those go haywire, they can speed up cell growth even more.
Exactly. It's like hitting the gas pedal instead of the brakes.
Oncogenes, they're like the accelerators, and tumor suppressor genes are the brakes.
You got it. A good analogy.
Cancer usually happens because of a perfect storm, mutations in both types of genes.
It's a loss of control over that careful cell division process.
So we've got this whole intricate dance happening.
Oh, yeah, definitely intricate.
Genes, proteins, signals, usually they all work together perfectly.
It's quite a system.
But when it breaks down, it can get really bad really fast.
That's the unfortunate reality.
It makes you appreciate just how amazing our bodies are.
Right.
Even down to the smallest level. It's all so complex.
Absolutely.
Thinking about it this way, it makes sense that there's so much research on this stuff.
Oh, yeah, tons of research.
Especially for things like cancer treatment and regenerative medicine.
Those are hot areas right now.
It makes you wonder about the future.
What do you mean?
If scientists can manipulate gene expression, could we reprogram cells to fix damaged tissues? Could we even, grow new organs?
Those are some big questions.
It sounds like something out of Star Trek, but who knows? Maybe it's not that far off.
It's definitely an area of active exploration.
I'm feeling a new kind of respect for my cells right now.
I can understand that.
Trillions of them, all working together, keeping me going.
It's a remarkable system.
It really makes you think all life, everything, starts with these tiny little wonders.
They're the building blocks of, well, us.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for diving deep with us, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration right here on The Deep Dive.